All right, we are live. Check the actual feed here. All right, we are live. The actual feed here. All right, we are rocking. All right, got a couple people on here. So, all right, guys, we'll get started. People can tune in later. They can save this video and watch it for whenever they want. Apologize for the lighting here. My production, that's a goal for 2023, is get my production value up, make my videos more watchable. So stay tuned for that. Hey, who is that saying hey? Sorry, all I see on there is Facebook user. My bad. Let's see if I can check my actual comments here. Yeah, this is crap. My bad. But hey to you. I will find out who that is later. Hey to you as well. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. All right, so today what I want to cover with you guys is some intermittent fasting. So this morning I reached out to a bunch of you who support my lives, and I really do appreciate it. As you might know, my account's always on some sort of a shadow ban. I came off a 5-month ban in October, and since then I still can't promote on my business page. I can't run ads, and I can't boost posts. So any support, any help, any sharing you guys can give tuning in, I really appreciate it. And so anyway, I sent out thank yous to people this morning and asked for topic feedback, and you guys gave me some great ideas for some lives coming up, and I put them all down on my notes. And this one came up several times, and that's intermittent fasting. So this video is for you if you have decided that intermittent fasting is something you want to do, but you're not quite sure how to put it together for you. Maybe you've tried it and you experience an energy lull or not the results that you were anticipating, and you're just not sure how to go about this properly. This video is not for you if you are on the fence about intermittent fasting. You want some data and some scientific reports and what have you to help you make that decision. While I do rely on science and data to form the basis of my protocols and my programs, I don't keep them. I don't save them. So for you guys, I would definitely reference a couple good books for you. Basically, anything by Dr. Jason Fong, Feng, would be worth note. And some really good entertaining books are books by Dave Asprey. Fast This Way and Bulletproof Diet are both really good books that I highly recommend. He's the actual founder of biohacking, and I almost said biohacking truth. He's the actual founder of biohacking, and his whole take on biohacking is just living intentionally and using your mind and your body and your soul to craft a life for you that is your prime optimal life. So if you look up the definition of biohacking in the dictionary, it talks about using machines and electronics and hooking you up to gadgets and whatnot. And that is just an aspect of biohacking. But biohacking's got confused, it's got conflated, and poor Dave Asprey, I think, has lost his brand with biohacking. But that being said, it is not what most people think it is. Even people in my community, my mentor, my instructor, Paul Chek, I believe is grossly misunderstood in terms of what biohacking actually is. So that being said, I'm off my soapbox on that. But what I want to share with you today is a post, an article actually, because this is gaining some momentum around the interweb, and it really pisses me off. But if we think about what we've experienced these last few years with the pandemic and the ridiculous information that's come out about health since then, attacking fitness as a right-wing extremist pursuit, blaming all sorts of silly things like sun exposure to the rise in cardiac events and what have you. I think you guys have all noticed, especially if you guys are watching my stuff, you are the type of person that's noticed that they're mentioning everything but one particular thing. Specifically, one particular thing they are not mentioning whatsoever, and they're actually veering the attention towards actual healthy measures. So this is what is really irritating to me. But if you take a look at this article that you might see, and it's clickbait, it's headliney, but if you actually read the article, you could tell it's just a bullshit study. And I wonder what they were really studying, because I don't think they were studying intermittent fasting. And I say that because of the test subjects they were using. They picked a group that that they followed around for 15 years. But I honestly am wondering if maybe one of the side effects was that these people skipped a lot of meals. And because they skipped meals, or I'm sorry, they skipped meals maybe because of their employment situation. Maybe they didn't have much money or resources. Maybe they just had a real busy life. Maybe they had a broken metabolism. Maybe they had uh, like some sort of polyvagic response going on to where food wasn't very appetizing for them. In other words, maybe they weren't very healthy. Okay. So I'm not going to read this whole article. You can look up msn.com, intermittent fasting. Um, uh, Linked to greater risk of dying from heart disease, and it'll probably come up. It will come up. But basically, the one thing I want to point out here is who they actually studied. They studied a group of 14,000 individuals, I believe it was, and they followed them around for 15 years. So they identified 4,175 deaths from this particular group. It was a cohort of over 24,000 American adults aged 40 years of age and older. So it was just a survey. But here's the whole key in all of this. This is where the entire article breaks down. This is where the entire premise and notion of the article breaks down, is right here, where it says scientists say they are more like, they are the people who died. The actual title of the article calls them intermittent fasters, basically. Here I am doing what they do. They didn't say that. Their sorcery is even getting to me, right? Intermittent fasting linked to greater risk of dying from heart disease. So what these people were doing was not intermittent fasting. What these people were doing, where they were living their life and they were being unintentional with when and how they were eating. And that's my opinion based on reading between the lines here. But nowhere does it say that they took intermittent fasters and had them do their thing and then followed the results. It's not what it says at all. But they took these people, the intermittent fasters. They found a number of common characteristics among those eating fewer than 3 meals per day. So notice how anybody who eats less than 3 meals a day all of a sudden became an intermittent faster in here, right? Around 40% of respondents. Scientists say they are more likely to be younger, male, non-Hispanic. Oh, I got that totally wrong in my initial assertion of the article. I thought it said Hispanic. Non-Hispanic Black have less. Oh, non-Hispanic Black. So that means they would be Black, but not Hispanic. I'm not sure about that category. That's probably a category of racial categorization that I'm not familiar with. So my apologies. But so basically, they're going to be younger, non-Hispanic Black. So there's a definite ethnic resonance here. Like there's something that has to do. Why were they studying these people? Like why? What were you studying? You weren't studying them for intermittent fasting. They have less education, lower family income, smoke, drink more alcohol, be food insecure, and eat less nutritious food, more snacks, and less energy intake overall. That is not an intermittent faster. If you guys are watching this and you're considering intermittent fasting, this is probably the lifestyle that you are running away from, right? I'm not saying that this was ever your life, but something that mimics this is what you're going away from, and you're intentionally taking steps to not do that. So these people were not living with intention. These people were not choosing what went into their body. So basically what they said was, we studied X number of people who don't really think very much about how or when or what they eat or how they manage their emotional state, because obviously they're escaping with smoke and drink. So they took people that are basically the opposite demographic of the type of person who would intentionally intermittent fast. And they said, oh, intermittent fasting is dangerous, with the clickbait title. This is exactly like the whole bullshit behind plant-based. And I'm not saying plant-based is bullshit. That's what I'm saying. But the propaganda behind plant-based and them trying to prove that eating meat increases all-cause mortality. But they're studying people. They're taking people that have made a conscious choice to go plant-based, right? So they're intentional with their food choices and their lifestyle. And plant-based is something that they've resonated with as far as something that was part of a healthy lifestyle. And then they just study people that don't have intention behind what they eat. And part of their diet is Chick-fil-A, McDonald's hamburgers, like banquet dinners, like all these random things, pepperoni on a pizza, all these random things that would be considered quote unquote meat. And now they're just classified into meat eaters. Okay. So these This is why the whole anti-science movement was made up, right? It's like, how many people do you know that are anti-science, right? Nobody's anti-science, right? We're all pro-scientific method. What we are anti, and I'm not trying to speak for anybody, I'm just speaking for myself, but this resonates with the conversations that I've had in depth with a lot of people that think like us. And it's not that we're anti-science, just like we're not anti-jab, right? That may have changed in my mind, but that's not what we're talking about. It's not anti-science, it's anti-using the scientific process and manipulating it to create a narrative or a data set that you can use to monetize. That's what we are anti. The scientific process is the scientific process. And we wish you would actually use the scientific process so that we could trust you. That's where we're going from. And this is more just bullshit, absolute bullshit. You read the article, it's completely obvious that they did not start this. They did not say we were studying intermittent fasters. We were studying these people who found out they didn't eat 3 regular meals a day and they died earlier. Well, was it the intermittent fasting or was it the junk food and the alcohol and the smoking and all that jazz that you also mentioned in there? Oh yeah, it was intermittent fasting. See, it's a correlative analysis. Like, is a correlative. I don't even know if it's a correlative study. It probably wasn't. It was probably a specific study in which they were trying to find the effects of a certain demographic, but they were found value in the current narrative that they could squeeze this in, and this is how desperate they are. All right. So this is how a health coach ends up talking about conspiracy theories all the time. The biggest conspiracy is in health. That's where it starts. The whole premise, the whole notion that we have been programmed to believe that when you're born, you need to see the doctor, go get your first shots. And then in 6 weeks, you go get more. And then from there, like, you get this idea that you have to be at the doctor every so often, that the doctor is actually there to help you. Okay. That's the illusion. That's the biggest conspiracy we're operating under. And it's all coming from the same place, from those people meeting in Davos. All right. So, going to break into the actual topic of this conversation, which is intermittent fasting. All right, intermittent fasting. Like I said, this is for people who've decided that they want to intermittent fast, but they're not sure what to do. They're not sure how to do it. It's very simple. It's very simple, guys. If you need some more information, like I said, seek out Dr. Jason Fung. He's awesome. There's so many good people out there. What's his name? Drawing a blank when I need it. But yeah, I mentioned Dave Asprey before, but basically, there's all kinds of awesome contributors, awesome influencers out there that can really give you the science behind intermittent fasting. That's their jam. That's what they do. I think Peter Attia was the guy I was thinking of. But those guys will give you the nuts and bolts, right? But they're really good at confusing people because they are so damn smart. So I think a lot of people get in that situation where they get the information they need, but it's like, how do I put this together? Okay. So first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to figure out what your macro profile is. Like, are you the type that thrives well on a lot of carbohydrates and minimal protein and fats? Or are you the type that thrives well on a lot of fats, a lot of proteins, minimal carbohydrates? The best way to figure that out, guys, if you don't have an opportunity to work with someone like me where we can get your primal pattern diet type figured out, is to just do a test on yourself. Take a whole week and eat high volume of plants, a lot of plants, minimal fats, minimal proteins, and just see how your digestive system handles that. What does it look like coming out the other end? Okay, that's your report card. If you experience like digestive issues, a lot of gas, a lot of bloating beyond like the second or third day, if you experience a lot of that, then you're probably eating a macro profile that isn't good for you. And then experiment with like a carnivore type where you're eating just straight meat and fat for a week or so. Now, if you experience the same thing with that, then you're probably on the same thing. What I meant was the digestive issues and what have you, energy. But if you experience that with the protein and fat based diet, then you're probably more of a carbohydrate type. So get that figured out, get it settled in. Like, what is your type? What do you thrive off of? Can you handle a whole bunch of plants and a little bit of protein, a little bit of fat? Can you handle, or are you better off with a whole bunch of protein, a whole bunch of fat, and minimal carbohydrates? Get that figured out, because this is probably, in my experience and observation, the most important element, besides figuring out your window and sticking to it, is breaking your fast. When you break your fast, break it with the perfect meal for your type. So for me, I am a protein and fat type. So the best way for me to break my fast is literally with like a hunk of steak and a bunch of eggs or something like that. Maybe just a hunk of grass-fed steak with some grass-fed butter on top. When I break my fast like that, I feel my best. I have the best energy, the most clarity. Some signs that you're eating foods that aren't right for you. Well, digestive issues, like I said before, gas, bloating, skin problems, too many bowel movements in the day. The bowel movements are inconsistent in their timing, consistency, um, uh, odor, all these types of things. What are some other things? If you experience lethargy right after you eat, you're eating something that isn't for your primal pattern diet type. So when you're done eating, you should feel a sense of relief. You should feel a sense of elation, and you should feel a sense of energy. So if you're eating the right foods for you, if you're eating what your body's calling for at that time. Oh, Tarn, thanks for checking in. Appreciate you. But if you're eating what your body's calling for at the time and the quality of the food is high and it's for your macro profile, it's very important that it's meant for your macro profile because that depends on the length of your intestinal tract, the enzyme profile in your body. All these things factor into your body's ability to assimilate and energize the food that you eat. So breaking your fast with the perfect meal for you and figuring out what your perfect macro profile is, that's of utmost importance. Too often, from what I see with people, is they're on an intermittent fasting plan, but it's like a 16-8 window or a 20 and 4 window, something like that. But they're really just kind of letting themselves eat whatever they want during that window. Now, if you're young, if you're under 25, you could probably lose a lot of weight with that plan. But the older you get, the more important it is to really dial in the quality and macro profile that is best for you for hormone optimization and for optimal assimilation. So picking a window. From what I see here, most often people go too aggressive at the start. People start off with a 16-8 or a 20-4. David, I'll put that up so I don't forget about answering that, brother. And that's actually, I'm going to talk about that very next, Dave. So a lot of times I see people just jumping out too aggressive, 20-4, 16-8. I highly recommend starting out with like a 12-12. Use that 12-12 fasting window to utilize those little like week-long experiments as far as your macro profiles. So start out with like a 12-12, and then I would try like more of a keto-based approach or carnivore-based approach because that'll get your body into fat adaptation faster. And if you can get fat adapted, you're going to burn fat and you're going to have a lot of energy. Uh, do that for a couple weeks or until you feel comfortable, then ease into a 16-8, right? Just because these times are branded doesn't mean you have to go these specific times, right? You can do a 14-10. Let's go from 12-12 to 14-10, work into a 16-8. I would say 16-8 is like the minimal fasting window if you're going to do daily intermittent fasting that you're going to want to settle in on. Based on the science we have available now, it's like after 12 hours, you start to experience the benefits of fasting. And you get a real good 4-hour window of that effect. So 12 to 16 hours give you a good window of all those fasting benefits, the autophagy and what have you. And then settling in on like a 20-4 split, if that's your style. Some people don't like to think about making meal choices. They have an active lifestyle, but it's not super involved in like resistance training or high intense cardio. So they need energy to get through their day, and they want to maximize their miles per gallon, so to speak, with the food they're eating. So 20-4 window for that type of person would be just right, probably just perfect. Like I said, break the fast with the perfect meal for hormone optimization, bioavailability, assimilation, and appetite control down the road. Okay. I mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. The quality of the food is of utmost importance. And then secondary, tertiary to that is the macro profile. And if your macro profile is dialed in, you're not going to see the blood sugar spikes. You're not going to see the insulin dumps, and you're not going to see the drain in energy. So you got to get it just right. But it's not that hard. If you spend some time to dedicate figuring out how your body likes to be fueled, it'll be well worth the time. You get it just right. You eat your fats, proteins, carbohydrates just right. You will have prime oxidation of those elements, those macronutrients. Oxidation is basically the process in which from the time I eat it to the time it becomes available for energy. It's not metabolism. It's different than metabolism. But for the time it become from time eaten to the time it becomes available to be metabolized for energy, that all factors in. If you oxidize very fastly, you can handle more proteins than fats. If you oxidize more slowly, you're going to want more carbohydrates, right? And the whole premise behind that is if you're oxidizing too fast and you give yourself a bunch of carbohydrates, that's like giving yourself a whole bunch of just dry tinder to just bursts in you, and you're hungry all the time. That's where the blood sugar spikes, the insulin dumps happen. On the converse side of that, if you're a slow oxidizer and it takes you a while to convert stuff into energy, but you give fast or slow fuel sources to your body, fats, proteins, fibers, then your body is going to be a lot less happy in between the time that you ingest to the time it oxidizes and is available for energy. That's where you'll experience this lull in your energy. You'll also experience that if you're eating non-foods, denatured foods, processed foods, packaged, box, and bagged foods. You will experience that as well. To address David's question here, so David asked, sorry, I just saw another comment. Crack me up. David asked, how often a week do you fast? Yes. So this is a very important question. This is one that hangs people up because everybody like wants a cheat deal day, an indulgence day. They're not sure how that works into their plan. Inevitably, you experience the 3-day effect, which is when you ingest foods that your body's not used to, or just, garbage food. There's that 3-day effect where it's doing its thing in your body, and that can really throw us off track. It can make us crave weird foods. The flow that we had with our diet and lifestyle program starts to slow down. We got to be more like conscious about the choices we're making. So inevitably that gets people, and you add a little bit of confusion to it, and they end up like giving up, right? Or putting it on hold for an extended period of time. So to answer your question, David, what I do personally is I do a daily intermittent fast of 16 hours at least. Now I listen to my body as well, though. If I've been doing that for an extended period of time and I've experienced hunger for a couple days in a row, and I can trace it back to the day before, and it's like I didn't eat a whole bunch of carbohydrates, so I shouldn't be experiencing this like blood sugar mismanagement, then I'll go ahead and eat some breakfast. But my daily, like my typical protocol, daily 16-hour fast, 8-hour feeding window. And then depending on if I'm on a maintenance, gain, or loss phase, I've been on pretty much maintenance phase for the past several years. But maintenance phase is one day where I eat a cheat day, which is where I get to eat breakfast. And then I'll also do a 24-hour fast. So typically it's like I'll do a 24-hour fast, which is a dinner to dinner. So it's like I won't eat dinner or I'll eat my dinner at normal time on Friday night, and then I won't eat on Saturday, and then I'll eat Saturday dinner, and then Sunday I'll have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it looks like that. That's one 24-hour fast in a week. And it gives me one quote unquote indulgence day. That's a maintenance phase. Now, if you want to gain weight, right, it'd be very similar. So a 16-8 feeding window. And a lot of people say that's counterintuitive, right? Why would you fast at all if you're trying to gain weight? Well, you still get health benefits from fasting. So we got to think outside the lens of weight gain and weight loss in terms of the overall body of health. While your weight and your body fat percentage and your no, not BMR. Boy, Sunday's a bad day for words from you guys. But basically, whatever your body weight is in relation to your ideal body weight for that. So your obesity marker, all that is important to your overall health, but it isn't health. It isn't just isn't health. Fat gain, weight gain, that is like the last symptom. It's like getting a pimple. Like the pimple's not the problem, right? The pimple starts inside the body. So weight gain is the same thing. So if we're on a gain phase, we still want to get the health benefits of the decreased feeding window, but we don't want to get in a caloric deficit, right? So that would be very similar to the maintenance phase, except you're going to throw in maybe 2 cheat meals a week, or with the 124-hour fast. So maybe that would look like, a normal day on Friday, skip basically lunch on Saturday, you eat dinner. So that's a 24-hour fast. And then Sunday and Monday, you're eating breakfast. That'd be like a weight gain plan. A weight loss would be very similar. It's just you don't have an indulgence meal. So you're literally going every day and you're skipping breakfast. And you're doing that 1 24-hour fast in a week. If you're feeling good and your macros are on point and the quality of your food is really high and your energy is good, you're sleeping good, bowel movements are good, inflammation levels in the body are down, all that is good, then you can go ahead and throw another 24-hour fast for the week. And that would expedite the weight loss process. So it's very simple. There's nothing complicated about that whatsoever, right? Really, you're just messing with Saturday and Sunday and Monday. That's all you're messing with. It's like the weekend is kind of the day. And it seems to go really well into people's like psyche, where it's like the weekend determines like what you got going on. So if it's maintenance, it's just like, dude, fast all day Saturday and have fun Sunday. If it's weight gain, dude, just have fun, but be smart about it, right? And on the weekends. And then if it's weight loss, it's just like, hey, we're not having breakfast, and we're sticking to the quality of our food and our macros. That's it. That's it. So, and then David, to answer your question, I also like to periodically. It usually works out to about once a quarter, maybe a little bit longer. There's been years where I've only done it a couple times in a year, and there's been times where I've done it, 6, 7 times in a year. But every so often, I'll throw in an extended fast. So for me, 36 hours is plenty. Um, I don't ever get anything really built up in my body to where I feel like I need more than that. And when it comes to like a spiritual connection to where you get these deep prayers and these deep meditations and these wonderful amounts of clarity on some questions you've had, for me, that kicks in at about the 20-hour mark. So 16 hours of that for me is plenty. It's plenty. So I don't have a need currently in my life to do like a 10, 11-day fast. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything as long as it's within your markers of health to be able to do that, and it's something you're interested in. I encourage people to check that out. For me, extended fasts are like plant journeys. I don't think they're bad. It's just like I don't particularly need one. So there's another question here. See, menopause. Yeah, this menopause is shit. Yeah, menopause. That's a big one, right? Like, menopause, female hormone cycles, just the monthly cycles, even before premenopause. That's just something that every female needs to consider. And if this is Tarn, I believe it is Tarn. If this is Tarn, then Tarn well knows, and Tarn's doing everything possible to mitigate the symptoms of these hormonal fluctuations. If you're not Tarn and you're not as hip to the health game as Tarn is, and you're experiencing hormonal fluctuations, really bad cycles, monthly, a lot of pain, that's can be really, really helped with your diet and lifestyle factors. So really take a look at that. And, if it's really particularly bad one month, take a look and see if you did something that month that was a little bit off. Did you have a couple extra celebrations? Did you have a couple box of chocolates that seemed to hang around in the cupboard and you were snacking on those often? You'd be surprised at how little it takes to really throw things off if you're adding the exact wrong ingredients into your day. So there's another question here. Do I have sample macros? Yes, actually I do. And let me pull something up here that I can share with you guys. As that's pulling up, I'll get on the next question here. So I'll show you something. This is kind of a readout of what I do with people and to figure out what kind of macros they should be eating. Now with like anything, this is not a blood test. This is not like a high tech observation or assessment. So sometimes I would say maybe 10% of the time there's some adjusting we have to do after figuring this out, but 90% of the time or more, this darn report has been spot on. So this is, let's see here. Okay, make sure there's no name here. Okay. So if you take a look at it here, this is when I was talking about a carbohydrate type, this is what this is. So this is an Ecuador type, is what we call in the Czech Institute a carbohydrate type, or Mediterranean type, equatorial type. But so this would be an example of someone who probably has like a really long intestinal tract, a lot of amylytic enzymes, which are great for carbohydrates, maybe not as many proteolytic enzymes and lipolytic enzymes, which break down fats and proteins. So this person's diet would be a large portion would be carbohydrates. So don't get these carbohydrates confused with what we typically think of as carbohydrates, like bread and pasta. This is literally anything that doesn't have eyes, anything that's not animal based. So this could be spinach, cauliflower, broccoli, peppers if you don't have a nightshade intolerance. This could be basically any vegetable or plant right here. So what I tell clients is if they're carbohydrate type, I tell them just be wise with their sugar intake, because they can handle more sugar than most people. So I tell them, be wise with your carbohydrate intake. If this was your plate, right? This is a round plate. Your plate's going to look like this. I would like to see maybe this much. So like a third of your 70% max be starchy type foods. And then from there, just monitor the energy, monitor the weight, the hip to waist ratio, monitor all that. And if it's working, great. If that's shrinking too fast, then maybe we can add some more. Or if they're experiencing an energy lull or a delay in energy production from the time they eat, then we would look at upping those simple carbohydrate sources. But each type's going to have, so a polar type is going to be a lot more protein and fat heavy here, and a mixed type is going to be a mix of the two. So basically we find 1 of 3 different types for you, whether you're a carbohydrate equator type, mixed type, or a polar type. Mixed type is a combination of the two. Polar type is what I am, which is high fat, high protein intake, shorter intestinal tract, a lot of proteolytic and lipolytic enzymes in my body. So that's it in a nutshell. I hope that answered your question. If you have more questions and I didn't clarify that, feel free to reach out to me on DM. I'll hit you up with a direct answer, and I'll make note to cover it again in a future live. More from David here. Says, thanks. I mainly do 16-8, either Saturday or Sunday. We'll do a 20 and 4. Problem I have is once I have a cheat meal, I go through bad cravings. Yep. I've been on low carb for several years and started experiencing. Yeah. So what's David's talking about is something I mentioned earlier, and maybe David is breaking his fast with meals that aren't 100% optimal for him, or maybe he's just got something going on with his glucose regulation and his insulin sensitivity that's causing those carbohydrate spikes. So I know for me, anecdotally, being obese I'm 44, but I would say solid 30 years of my existence, obese, and that creates challenges for me and insulin management, insulin sensitivity, glucose regulation. Even as dedicated as I am to my lifestyle, I'm good for about 2 days. I can have 2 days where I'm being a little careless, a little reckless, but that third day, just like you, bro, it becomes a battle of will. It becomes a battle of cravings. My body starts saying, "You want some pudding, don't you? Well, there's some ice cream in the freezer." All these little tricks that little inner saboteur likes to pull on us. So yeah, brother, I would definitely, if you're feeling good on those 16-8s and the 20 and 4, if you're feeling good on those, then you're on the right track. And just watch what your cheat meals are looking like. So sometimes, to get people out of this little rut of if you're having a cheat meal or a cheat day, an indulgence day, if you're having like one and it's throwing you off track like that, and it could be too like a little bit mental going on as well, if not a lot bit mental, tough inner critic, self-condemnation, that could play a role in it as well. But if you were like one meal or one indulgence day away from just throwing everything off track, then I recommend to those people, like, even with your indulgences, be mindful. So maybe before having a plate of pasta or something like that, make sure you have a big steak with it or something that's going to provide satiation. Because until we're out of the woods, we don't want to tempt fate, especially if you are on a plan that has some momentum going and is producing results. All righty. All right, guys, I think that's all I had for the intermittent fasting. I just want to double check, make sure I covered everything. So, know your macros. Like, don't just fucking pick someone's plan and go with it. Don't just go with keto, because then you're just flipping a coin. You're just flipping a coin. And don't just go with plant-based. You're flipping a coin, right? Experiment with that, and it'll be well worth the time. Even if it takes you 4 weeks to figure it out, it'll be well worth it. You could always look out or reach out to me. I can get you a copy of that assessment. I don't even know what I'd charge you for that, but it'll be very reasonable, I promise. Pick a window and work yourself up. So if you want to be feeding at 20 and 4, that's fine. Just don't jump into 20 and 4. Like, give yourself real parameters you can work in, right? Start at 12 and 12 and give yourself, I don't know, 3-4 months to get there. If you get there in 2 weeks, great. But give yourself a realistic timeline. Any of this stuff should be about a lifetime of health. Break your fast with the perfect meal for you. You will have the best adherence. You will have the best experience. Food quality is the most important thing. Make sure you're sourcing your food from local sources whenever possible. If you can find free range, pasture raised, never been in a cage, that is the best. Grass-fed, grass-finished. Now, I know this stuff is expensive. I get it, especially now with who in the White House. Like, I get it. It's really expensive. But if the cost of a grass-fed steak is going up, I promise you the cost of getting a stent put in has gone up. The cost of heart medications will go up. The cost of doctor visits will go up. Everything's going to go up. Everything's going to go up. So nothing's changed. The formula is still the same. It is cheaper to take care of yourself daily than it is to have to take care of yourself under an emergency situation where anything goes and the ends begets the means. And no matter what they do to your body, it's okay as long as they keep you alive. I'm not disagreeing with that. If I go down with a heart attack, if you've got to remove a spleen or a gallbladder because of something went wrong, or take 3 ribs out, I don't know, to save my heart, obviously that is the proper choice, but just don't get yourself in that position. It's much cheaper to take care of yourself on the daily. And then lastly, log your mood, your energy, your sleep, your bowel movements, and your exercise. Log that, because you might find yourself in a situation where you are making, and your weight as well, where you're making incremental improvements, but you're not really recognizing them. Like, you're not noticing how much better you feel. You're not noticing how much energy you have. You're not noticing that your sleep is better. It's going to be incremental, right? It's one of those things where you look back 30 days later and you're like, holy shit, 30 days ago, I really felt like crap, but I don't realize how much better I feel every day, right? Or maybe you do, but not to the extent, to the degree. But that all boils down along the lines of give yourself credit for everything you've done and keep track of every step of the journey. And again, books, if you're interested, anything by Dr. Jason Fung, Feng, and Dave Asprey's books, Fast This Way and Bulletproof Diet, are great resources and very entertaining reads. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I want to thank Lori Neverman, one of my wonderful dear friends, for suggesting this this live topic, and for all the great feedback that I've got from everybody. And let's see if we got a couple more questions. Let's see. It's probably still Tarn, but I'm a polar type. Have found now that I'm in menopause, I'm struggling with the meat, but my body is loving fats, i.e. like suet and MCT. The waistline is getting brutal. Yeah. Tarn, reach out to me. We can hop on a call. Yeah, we can hop on a call and see if we can put our minds together and get this figured out for sure. Menopause. We'll throw that in there. There's a lot of I'm sure you're aware of all the tests you can do, but if you're not currently taking enzymes, it's definitely one I would put at the top of the list, lowest hanging fruit. Some proteolytic enzymes. There's one by Biooptimizers. I think it's called Apex, and it's for people on keto diets. But I found it's worked really well with people when I start them out on a polar or on a carnivore diet. It works really well with them. But if you want to get on a call, let's hop on a call. Let's get that sourced. All righty. All right, guys, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. As always, if you ever need anything, I am here for you. If you want some one-on-one guidance, reach out to me. I've got some spots open in my VIP program. If that's not an investment that you can make at this time, I totally understand. Just keep watching the lives, keep watching the content, keep asking questions, and I'm always available for you if you want to reach out on DM. I check those at least twice a day, or you can reach me direct on my phone. Shoot me a text, 406-241-3763. I respond to emails daily, jerry@biohackingtruth.com. All right, guys, as always, I appreciate all the love and support. It means the world to me. I can't tell you how grateful I am for all you guys. It's been a real struggle the last couple of years getting reach and engagement, and some of you have just shown up and supported and loved, given feedback, offered suggestions, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, and if you're watching football, enjoy the game. If not, enjoy whatever you're doing. But as always, peace, much love, and live well.